All right, your moviness. What is your number one pick for the top five horror films of this month?
All right, so yes, so this is my top pick. This is a movie I absolutely love. I remember the first time watching when I was younger, and I was totally hooked on it. And actually, on my list of all the movies we've discussed, it's probably the only one that actually has a sequel that is even worth mentioning, which I think the sequel for this is also fantastic. So if anyone's not sure what movie I'm talking about, it is none other than Alien, right? So the original Alien. I do love Aliens as well, but obviously I think Alien definitely goes more into the horror motif than the sequel. And we see, just the tension that's building is just so incredible. Like you're just like the sense of unease is just so high, and you see him, he kind of gets close, and then you see the little egg open up, and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And you start to see like a little bit of movement in there, and then all of a sudden you have like one of the scariest jump scares to me, where it just like kind of comes out and gosh, like so they can't do anything with that. And then when they try to cut off one of the like appendix, we get Brett gets killed there. And we see the alien for the first time fully grown, right? And I mean, this thing is huge. So before it pops out of the chest, and it's like a little thing there. Then when we see it the next time, it's fully grown, and this thing just takes Brett away. Then they're like, okay, well, it's got to be moving through the air ducts. So this is where Dallas, the captain of the ship, and played by the biggest actor in the movie, right? He's going through the ship, and you got all this like claustrophobia really sinking in, because you're like in these like really narrow areas that they have these air ducts. They're closing things off. And then you start to see like the aliens appearing on the little movement sensors. It's like, okay, we're trying to direct them or tell.
There was no.
Yes, they were there to feed. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was very animalistic, but what I found so terrifying about them was the fact that these were creatures you couldn't rationalize with. You couldn't try to bargain or do anything with them. You only had one thing to do. You had to kill them, or else they'll kill you. So that's what I thought was really, really terrifying about that movie.
Yeah, the design also, I absolutely love it. Like H.R. Giger, like just such a great heads up. Everything was just so cool. Like I said, love the look of the alien spacecraft, and like I said, the alien itself was good. Like I said, it's just a really impeccably well done thing. So mad props to them. They did a great job from directing, storytelling, creature designs, just an impeccable job from top to bottom.
All right, so that is Lee's number one choice, the movie Alien. So mine is going to be Shutter Island by Martin Scorsese. And at first glance, when you hear that, you think to yourself, really, that's horror. But when I was developing my list for the top five horror films, what I was thinking was I was trying to choose different films that kind of touched on different genres or different flavors of horror, as it were. So obviously Hannibal kind of touches in on the cannibal horror vibe. Corpse Bride, more of like the gothic vibe. Nosferatu the Vampire obviously is more of a vampire film, and The Howling's more of a werewolf film. Part of that huge wave in the 80s. With Shutter Island, it's not so much that we're dealing with an external monster as we are dealing with something that's far more dangerous, which is the human mind. Because obviously if the mind goes, then there's no telling what could happen. And we've seen over the past few years, unfortunately, where people with mental illnesses have either been subjected to terrible things or they've been compelled to do terrible things. And I think with a movie like Shutter Island, what you see here is more of a psychological horror, because it's basically about a man who's trying to grapple with reality and trying to make sense of what's going on in his own way and trying to cope with a personal tragedy. But you kind of get the feeling, and you see at the end of the movie that it's pretty much a lost cause. So basically what happens is the movie is set in the 1950s, so you kind of have that film noir aspect to it at the very beginning.
Yes, very much so.
And I'm a huge Batman fan, so obviously if you see a mental hospital on an island, I automatically get Arkham Asylum vibes around it, but that's just me. So the movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo, and Leonardo DiCaprio plays Edward Daniels, who is a U.S. Marshal, and his partner is played by Mark Ruffalo, Chuck Ali. And basically, what they're doing is that they're investigating the disappearance of a patient who had drowned 3 children several years back, and it's and for most of the movie, it kind of plays like a like a film noir murder mystery kind of thing, where Teddy's just going around the island, just interviewing people, trying to ask, well, what happened to Rachel? What was she like? How did she get here? How did she get out? And you kind of get this feeling that everybody on the island is a bit off-putting. It's like they don't really want to give too much away. It's because they're trying to. It's like they're trying to protect Rachel. You kind of get the feeling that they're trying to protect, protect her from Teddy to a degree. But as as the movie progresses, you come to find out that Teddy is actually the patient on the island, and everybody on the island is actually in on the act, because it turns out it's a last-ditch effort by Mark Ruffalo, who turns out to be his therapist, but he was posing as his partner. This whole act was basically a last-ditch effort to try to get Teddy the help he needed before they went to the extreme measure of giving him a lobotomy. But what makes it horror for me is the fact that we're talking about a man who's trying to grapple with a personal tragedy, and he's going about it through this very elaborate process of trying to play detective, investigating what's going on this island. And can I just say the performance is just phenomenal. Yes. Leonardo DiCaprio knocked it out of the park. Martin Scorsese did a phenomenal job. Technical standpoint, a lot of shadows. It was a very dark scene. Even in scenes that were shot in the daytime, you kind of got this feeling that there was something kind of dark, lurking around, and you come to find out that Rachel was in fact Teddy's wife, and Teddy, he just couldn't bring himself to reconcile what had happened, and he ends up doing something that was pretty unthinkable, really. But in his mind, he's trying to justify what he did as doing it for the greater good. It says that. It's as that old saying goes. What one person sees as evil, the other person sees as good. So for my money, I think Shutter Island is for me the #1 horror film, because it doesn't really fit horror, in the classical sense. There are no monsters, there are no demons, there's no crazy person, running around trying to stab you. It's basically you trying to grapple with your own psyche, and what the mind can throw at you. It can be pretty messed up, to say the least. So that's my #1 choice, is Shutter Island.
Awesome. I do really like that movie. I think it's a fantastic movie, and I definitely agree. People should check that out. So I did have a question though, Luca. Right? Yeah. So Alien or Shutter Island?
Ooh. Hmm. I'm going to be objective, and I'm going to say I would go for Alien, just to be.
Okay.
If so let me ask you this: Are we talking about like if it's Halloween and I'm sitting there in front of
I
a
would just say
TV
like if
watching
there
it?
was, I would just say any like if you were just like, hey, cool, I needed to, I wanted to suggest you a good movie. Which one would you just suggest to someone first?
Okay, so okay, so for starting off simple, I would definitely go with Alien on that one, just because it's pretty easy to follow. Shutter Island, there's a bit there's a lot of twists and turns to it, but and it's one of those movies where you kind of have to focus on the story, but there's a huge payoff at the end. So
No, that's a great point. Yeah, it definitely
yeah.
is a lot more cerebral than anything that we discussed today for sure. So
Yeah, exactly. So me personally, because I enjoy this kind of stuff, I would tend to I would tend to gravitate towards a movie like Shutter Island. But if I was suggesting a horror movie to watch for Halloween night, it would definitely be Alien.
okay.
So
Thank you. I just want to make sure I won this contest, so thank you.
well, we already we already renamed the channel after your moviness. So
Okay, but thank you. Yes, but no, I think like I said, was definitely good. So yes, I guess take away, Luca.
so I did want to ask you, what do you have planned for Halloween week or Halloween night?
That's a good question. I don't know yet. I know we kind of were talking about some stuff. I know there's some pumpkin related stuff that we'll be doing tomorrow. So
Yes.
and I guess we'll have to figure out the next thing as we continue our stuff for Halloween, the month of October. So yeah, that's at least one thing I have on the docket.
Yeah, because I know in the past, well, at least before COVID, you went to Scarowinds over at Carowinds, right?
Yes, I did.
Is
So
that is that something you still do, or has it kind of tapered off?
no, I haven't had much of a chance. I think, obviously COVID played a factor into that. And then, I know people that aren't in the Carolinas probably don't know about this, but, on the Fury 325, right, they had the issues with the, there being cracks in the roller coaster. And, I don't think anyone wants to have a Final Destination type death scenario where you're dying um, on a roller coaster. So, but yeah, I haven't planned on it, so might not be anything on the cards for that.
Well, I've been talking to people recently, and I'm going to be doing a Halloween podcast mini series, and we're going to air 5 episodes the week of Halloween. So definitely check that out. I'm going to have some different guests coming on just to chat about different topics.
Nice.
Really, I think I think the only thing I'm really doing for Halloween mainly is just going to the pumpkin patch and carving a jack-o'-lantern. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bought a bunch of candy, but I never get any visitors, so I end up just eating the whole bag. That sounds really sad and pathetic when I say it out loud. But the main event for us is going to be the Carolina Renaissance Festival next month.
Yes.
Now, real quickly, you already have your costume. You told me that.
Correct. Yes. I'm working on some of the other aspects of it, but the main thing, yes, is completed.
So are you still going with that blockbuster box, or have you given up on that?
It's gonna be a surprise.
Okay.
I don't even know yet. So, but
it's so secret,
yeah,
even he
so
doesn't know about it.
I know, right? Like I just keep it so close to the chest that even I don't know what's happening with it. But yes, at least I have the crux of it put together. The other things that are gonna be part of it still up in the air.
And for those of you in the Carolinas, we are going to be at the Carolina Renaissance Festival on November 11th. So definitely come out and just stop us and say hi. I mean, he's pretty much dressed like what you see on the channel logo, with the
Yes.
miter and everything. So if you see him, just nudge him and say hi, and feel free to get into an argument with him about his movie choices, because that's what we like. Any attention is good attention. My costume is pretty much assembled. I'm just waiting for the weather to get cold so I can actually walk around in it, because I am wearing armor in this case. There has been some chat about us possibly meeting up a few days before Halloween, just hanging out at a friend's house in costume, but I don't know how serious we are on that. So
We'll have to see, because I'm up for anything. So, but yeah, so
all right. Well, that is going to do it for a Halloween special this week. But let us know down in the comments what you think. Do you agree with our choices? And what would be your top 5 recommendations for horror films? And as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and bearing through, because this has been one of our longer episodes. But again, we can't thank you enough. And as always, take it easy and happy Halloween. Bye.